Hello, everyone. Ishkia Page here. I thought I would do something different this time and do an audio of my journey instead of writing it out. Um, I kind of needed a break from writing, and I just thought maybe having an audio would be something a little bit different. I wanted to tell you a story about something I had gone through. Not all that long ago, but a while back after I had gotten edits back from a developmental editor. And I mean, pretty much, I went through this discovery phase. I deleted everything she said was filler. And I roughly ended up with 22% of what my original book was. This editor hung on to something in the very beginning, and she was bound and determined that that story had to be very linear and about this person that was actually a side character. And you know, I still value the feedback though, because it led me down a path I didn't expect. So this particular day, I mean, it really brought out the insecurities of what I was doing. I mean, I had been working on this book for a year now, and or almost a year at this point, and I didn't feel like I was any further along. I mean, I wrote the book for me, and basically getting it to publication is for everybody else. And at this point in time, I just didn't have the talent for it. I didn't feel like I had the talent for it, and I didn't really know what I was going to do, and I didn't want to disappoint others, but it wasn't that much as starting something and not finishing it. So it really taxed my day that particular day, and I started to take a break, and I thought, okay, I'm just I don't know what to do. I'm just going to play a game, and I think I got into Diablo 3, I think it was, and I turned I turned the difficulty like 2 or 3 torment levels above what I was used to, and thought, oh, I'll just take my frustrations out on these imaginary little creatures. And just get away from the writing and editing. And as I'm going along, of course, every other group of mobs, I would die and I would get more frustrated, and I'm like, what am I doing? why why am I adding more frustration to my life or whatever? And then this boss comes up, and I'm like hacking away at it, and it half breathed on me from a distance, and I'm almost dead, and I don't know what it was. I thought back about a story that happened at least a decade ago. My um my mother was in the hospital at the age of 72, and she was always one of those ones that couldn't draw a stick figure. I mean, she tried a couple of times when I would try and get her to try and draw or whatever, um because I didn't draw good when I first started, and nobody believes that, of course, but they did. I didn't. It was terrible, and so I just figured that if she just practiced some, that she could do it, but it just never happened. She just couldn't do it. She tried a few times just to humor me, I think. But anyway, I'm thinking I'm beating on this monster, and I'm thinking about my mother and this event that happened. And she had gotten sick, and she had been in the hospital for a while, and I flew across country to be with her. And we were sitting there, and I never go anywhere without a pad and pen or paper, or I mean, just a pad and pencil or paper or something. Because at that point in time, I wasn't even thinking about being an author. I was more of a drawer, and it passed time away. and I could tell my mother was absolutely bored out of her mind. I mean, there wasn't a day I didn't call her, so I knew her. We were very close. I just knew her upside down the other, and she was trying to do her best to keep a great face on, but she was absolutely about ready to pull her hair out. So I had an idea. I got my pad out, and I started drawing, and I thought, well, I'll draw something and I'll say something to her and have her interact or something. And she asked me what I was doing, and I told her I was just going to draw a little bit, and I had an idea. So I said, well, I tell you what, you're bored, and this might give you something to, work on. So I said, I'll draw for 2 minutes, and then I'll give you the pad and pencil, and you draw whatever you want for 2 minutes and add to it, and we'll see what kind of crazy picture that we end up coming up with. And she's like, okay. So that kind of surprised me, but she did it. And so I started the 2 minutes, and I started drawing a little fence post and the root of a tree, and in a pen and ink style, just scribbles to shade and just something simple. I didn't want to do anything complicated because it might intimidate her. So after my 2 minutes was up, I handed it to her, and she looked at it, and she said, well, she started asking questions. I said, Mom, don't stress about it. Just draw what you want to do, and just, start from one of the lines and draw what you want. It could be a cow for all I care. It's all about having fun and what we end up with together. And so she said, okay. So she still asked questions about the squigglies and all that kind of stuff, and then her 2 minutes was up, and she handed it back to me, and I didn't add too much. I just kind of added some squigglies for shading and stuff like that, and I handed it back to her at her time again, and she started asking questions, and I never got it back. So if you'll notice in the newsletter, this is black and white, pen and ink drawing. That was my mother's first drawing at the age of 72. What has that got to do with author? I'm getting there, I promise. So while I'm fighting this monster, I'm thinking about this story. And, by the end of the day, or no, she actually finished it the next day. But she did that entire drawing by herself, and all her life she couldn't draw stick figures. So it kind of put me on a campaign about how that my mother proved that talent is something that you aren't born with. It's something that comes from your frame of mind and how much practice you put into it. So I did this big video campaign entitled "So You Can't Think You Can't Draw," and 10 people signed up that swore up and down that they couldn't draw, and I gave them lessons for 10 weeks, and it was amazing. The whole thing was amazing. Every single person developed their own style. They loved the drawing. They just took off after that. And so for me, it was a lesson to myself that it had proven the point that I could do anything if I just put in enough practice. And that's all it took, was just practice, right? So, yeah, well, while I'm fighting this monster, this whole story comes back to haunt me. The fact of the matter is, I'm thinking to myself, Mom is coming back to haunt me. Yeah, thanks, Mom. I really appreciate that. Thanks for the kick in the butt, So I start laughing, and I'm thinking, the fact that I was ready to quit told me I wasn't ready for the next level. I wasn't ready for the success. So, I started thinking about the story, and I started laughing, and how I needed to change my mindset, that I needed to act like, I already was there, have that kind of frame of mind. What would it be like to be a really good author, to be able to write? There's a lot of authors out there that have sold a lot of books. that suck at writing too. I mean, so I'm thinking to myself, what would it feel like to actually know and feel like to be a really good author and be able to write down and communicate for others, you know? And so I'm like hacking away at these bosses and stuff that should have just wiped me to the floor, but they didn't. Wasn't paying attention to the game actually, which was part of the lesson. Was I wasn't really paying attention to the game. I was paying attention to what I was thinking, And so when I started turning my way of thinking around, so did my play. And the next thing you know, this boss is dead that should have killed me 25,000 times before I got it killed. But I didn't. I killed it, and I realized, wait, I didn't even remember fighting the boss, but my frame of mind was turning around, and it affected my ability. So I thought about it. It was late at night. I didn't go back to my computer or anything, but I thought about it, and the next morning, I woke up inspired, and I got an idea, and I was like, I told myself, you know what? I'm already a fantastic author. What would I do if I was already a fantastic author? I was already really good at writing things, etc., etc. And that morning, that day, I rewrote. I deleted 3 chapters from the beginning part of the book, and I rewrote them into 2 chapters. So I deleted 2 that never got rewritten, and I rewrote completely different 2 chapters. I mean, completely different, from a different point of view. The event was there, but totally different point of view. And then I put into a plan for the next day, for the next week, to rewrite the entire back third of the book, pulling in stuff from my second book, putting stuff from the first book to the second, and totally rewriting the events to create a whole different ending that was still in line with the whole overall view of the book series, but a much better ending, a much better flow. And it was amazing to me that just changing how I saw things, and I even went back and tried to think, how did I feel when I was first starting to learn to draw, when I was drawing so badly, when I was a kid. And I remember thinking, I can do this. I can do this. And there was several times where my mother says, oh, that's nice. Yes, dear, that's nice. And then she put it in a drawer. Yeah. So, I mean, we have that stuff we'll put in a drawer, but we just keep getting better. And it was a very inspirational time. It taught me quite a bit. So I wanted to pass that on to you guys. No matter what we're doing, whether it's authorship or drawing or horseback riding or telling jokes, it doesn't really matter. It's our frame of mind and how much we practice. And if it wasn't for that lesson that I used to teach so much, coming back to haunt me through my mother, I don't know what I would have done. Maybe I would have continued. I don't know. But it was a very valuable time for me, because the next day, when my frame of mind was living the dream that I hadn't reached yet, I am a good writer. Yes, I can do this. This is going to be fun. This kind of thing. It totally changed it. Totally changed it. And I'm forever grateful for my mother's example of how you can go from a stick figure to a full scene pen and ink drawing. as a metaphor. So I hope you guys create an amazing day, and remember that you deserve it. And I will talk to you another time. Bye bye.